On his company's IPO day he announced his first love, so I pulled my £800 million investment. He went bank. It was supposed to be the greatest day of his life. The moment his name lit up the financial world, the moment the valuation soared past the ceiling, the moment he stood in a pressed charcoal suit with his team, smiling as the cameras flashed, but as the market bell rang and the world watched in awe. He grabbed the mic and declared not victory, but love. Not strategy, not vision, not thanks, but a name, not mine, and that shattered something far deeper than shares. It crushed my soul into silent ruins. I stood among foreign billionaires, analysts, decision-makers, every muscle in my face frozen, my throat locked, but my heart was wild, broken, confused, enraged, betrayed, because I had been with him through every sleepless night, every pitch, every failed prototype, every scar, every kiss under moonlight, every painful confession, every sweaty moan that filled our hotel rooms from Zurich to Budapest. And now he chose to honor someone else, publicly. On the same day I was about to wire him the last £800 million needed to complete his final acquisition. I didn't hesitate. I walked out of the glass conference room with calm grace, nodded at my team, and said 2 words that would seal his fate. Pull everything. In less than 4 hours, the company valuation began to plummet. Rumors spread like a virus. Why did I withdraw? What did I know? Investors panicked. The stock crashed. And by nightfall, the man who once whispered he'd worship me forever was bankrupt. But that was only the beginning. The pain didn't begin with money. It began with the hidden footage I had from our private nights. The kisses that turned into bites, the tears that dried on his chest, the nights he begged me to stay after our 6th round of sex, panting, swollen, aching. His arms shaking around me as if he'd collapse without my warmth. But that warmth was gone now. I flew to Hungary. The place where we first made love in a small apartment he rented secretly because he was too ashamed of how broke he once was. There I found a letter, one he wrote long ago but never sent, admitting he was still in love with someone else, someone who left him but returned just as his life was about to peak. My chest tightened. Was I always just a placeholder? A beautiful distraction? Or a carefully orchestrated trap? I remembered the night in Venice. Our lips locked under dim candlelight, his hand trembling on my thigh, the way he moaned my name like a prayer, but now I wondered if any of it was real. Back in London, I activated the hidden camera I once placed in the villa's guest room after suspecting he was cheating. What I saw wasn't just betrayal, it was devastation. He wasn't just kissing her. He was confessing everything. The strategy, the IPO, the fake promises. Even our future plans, he mocked them. I didn't cry at first. I just sat still, frozen. But once the tears came, they didn't stop. For 3 days I cried non-stop, reliving every word, every lie, every thrust of his body against mine that I now questioned. And when I finally confronted him, he didn't deny it. He laughed, cold, heartless, said I was just a phase, that I served my purpose. So I locked the doors. I didn't scream. I didn't hit him. I walked toward him slowly, undressed piece by piece until I was standing bare before the man who once claimed no one made him feel the way I did. He stared, uncertain, maybe aroused, maybe threatened. Kissed him, slowly, then hard. Pushed him against the wall. It was our most violent session. The heat was unbearable. His hands gripped me like he was drowning. My nails left marks. My hips moved in slow torture. He begged, groaned, screamed. We didn't stop. Not after the first. Not the second. Not the 5th. The 6th round left us breathless, tangled, broken. He passed out, completely unconscious. Blood ran down his leg. My body trembled not from climax, but from victory. I left the footage recording. The next day, the media received it anonymously. Headlines exploded. He was finished. Not just financially, publicly, emotionally. But that wasn't the twist. That wasn't the secret I held deepest. And while the footage spread like wildfire, with journalists, influencers, and anonymous users tearing apart every frame of our final night together, naked limbs tangled, moans echoing under dim lights, his unconscious body curled on satin sheets, he disappeared. No press conference. No explanation. No apology. But I wasn't done. I didn't want his apology. I wanted him to feel. I flew back to Hungary alone, to the little house where it all began. There were photos in drawers, receipts from our late-night takeout runs, handwritten notes, old lingerie I forgot I'd left behind, still faintly scented with perfume and betrayal. I held the fabric against my chest and cried. Not gentle sobs, but the kind of aching, chest-caving scream that no one hears but walls. Days blurred. Barely 8. My body remembered the shape of him. His weight, his rhythm, his size, the way his hips pressed against mine, the deep stretch that always made me gasp and grip the sheets, the way he looked into my eyes when he came like he was promising eternity. But it was all fiction. Fabricated love built on lies. He had used my body as a ladder to rise, and discarded me once he reached the top. And yet, even from the ruins, my desire hadn't vanished. That was the curse. Loving the man who destroyed me. I found myself touching the memories, late at night, tracing invisible lines across my body where his lips once lingered. I hated myself for craving him still, for letting the image of his hands on my back, his hot breath in my ear, the pounding ache between my thighs return uninvited. But hate, I realized, was still a connection, and I wanted freedom. So I planned the final trap. Not with rage but silence. I invited him one last time without a word. Just a location. The place where we had our most intense night. On that mountain lodge far from the world with no cameras. He came, of course. Curious. Desperate. Maybe hoping for forgiveness, maybe expecting sex again. He wore the same shirt from the IPO day. That made me laugh inside. He didn't say anything as I opened the door in sheer black lace. Wet from the rain, nipples hard under the fabric, lips trembling but not with fear. I didn't speak. I just kissed him. Hard. Tongue twisted. And he responded. Of course he did. His body betrayed him. Even the cruelest liar still craves the warmth of what once was real. The sex that night was darker, deeper than ever. Utter. Filthy. 6 times again just like before, but this time it wasn't out of love. It was ritual. Closing chapter. I rode him like I was burning the past into his skin. He cried. Midway through the 4th round, he actually cried. Tears rolling down as I moaned his name, scratching his back, pressing my lips to his ear, whispering truths he could never unhear. He came inside me every time like he was pouring apologies into me. But it wasn't enough. After the 6th he collapsed again. Barely conscious, body trembling, legs weak. I dressed slowly, not bothering to clean the mess. I let him lie there, naked, drained, emotionally slaughtered. But the twist hadn't come yet. The footage. That night. It wasn't just for revenge. It was evidence. Evidence tied to offshore accounts, hidden bribes, transactions he made while high on the thrill of his IPO climb. All traced through hidden USBs I recovered from our villa, each one stored behind portraits we painted together, believing we were immortalizing love when we were only painting walls around secrets. I handed them to the right people. Quietly. Legally. There would be no scandal this time. Just a silent, slow collapse. And collapse he did. Everything frozen. Sit seized. Court notices served. And then the news came, he tried to end his life. Pills. Loan. Found by a cleaner in a rented apartment on the outskirts of Prague. And for a moment my breath caught. I should have been happy. I won. I ruined him. But all I felt was cold. Emptiness. Like my victory had no audience. I sat on the edge of my hotel bed that night, looking out at the city lights, whispering to myself. Was it worth it? But then something happened that I hadn't prepared for. Package. Delivered to my door. No return label. Just my name. Inside was a notebook, handwritten. From him. Page after page of apologies, of memories, of confessions. He loved me. From the first kiss. From the first argument. From the first time I screamed his name in the dark. But he was weak. He chased power because he was scared of losing me. He cheated because he thought I would leave. He lied because he thought I'd never love the truth. And then the last page. I hope the footage breaks me publicly, because you already broke me privately. But if this ruins me, at least I was ruined by the only woman who ever made me feel like a god. I clutched that book to my chest and sobbed for hours. And so, as the world watched his legacy crumble, I disappeared. No interviews. No gloating. I walked away with scars no one could see. I had won, but victory tasted like ash. Love had turned into war. Sex into weapons. Trust into poison. And though my body would heal, my heart still bore the memory of every whispered lie, every hot breath, every painful thrust that once made me feel alive, but now only reminded me of what I lost. I never saw him again. The last rumor said he was somewhere in the countryside, painting again. Alone. And sometimes when I'm alone in my own bed, I close my eyes and feel the ghost of him one last time. His arms around me. His lips tracing the curve of my spine. His voice whispering promises he never kept. But I let the ghost go. And with that the story ends.